I'm joined now by India's Oil Minister, Hardeep Singh Puri. Mr. Puri, thank you very much for your time here with Bloomberg. Let me begin by asking you for your assessment of one of the most important things that India has had to deal with over the last 2 years, and that is the availability of crude supply through the course of the year, given that we are now seeing a somewhat buoyant recovery in China. Inflation, concerns persist, and the Ukraine war persists.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on your show. The last 2 years, if one has to characterize them with the benefit of hindsight, I would say that we had to face multiple crises. During the last 2 years, we hadn't got over the hump of COVID. I'm not entirely sure that we've got over the hump even now, but let's say we seem to be much better placed to deal with the pandemic. In India, we've had close to 220 crore vaccines manufactured and freely distributed. If you see the economic activity, not only at the India Energy Week, but throughout Bangaluru or India or Mumbai, you'll find that economic activity is not only back to pre-COVID levels, but in fact is way beyond that in terms of some of the fundamental indices which you normally look at when you're making an assessment of economic state. One was the pandemic, but then the pandemic introduced another issue which had to be addressed, and which is that because of the pandemic, a lot of countries put in place stimulus packages, some of them as large as $20 trillion. So when you have economic activity either absent or at a slowdown, and on top of that, you have $20 trillion. I'm giving you just one extreme example. Many European countries did the same thing. Then you have more money, lots of money chasing the same quantity of goods and services. So you exacerbate the inflationary pressures and you take it slowly but surely in the direction of the big R. Now, it's very reassuring today to be told that the recession, when it comes in some parts of the world, will be milder than expected, that the winter was not as severe, but these are all from the elements of nature. Did we plan for it? I think the good story is that in India, we were able to navigate through the multiple crises, and I say food, fertilizer, and fuel. Fuel, because we were able very early in the day to utilize our existing contacts, and we buy, let's say we consume 5 million barrels a day. We had our traditional suppliers, but as the geopolitics changed, over the years, we have gone from 27 suppliers to 39 suppliers. New suppliers have come in, and we were able to source energy. By that I mean crude, from wherever it was forthcoming. I think we are today at a situation where we are confident that our existing suppliers, the new ones who are coming on the market, and there are new ones. I mean, let me give you an example of the United States. We have a very close relationship with the US. A few years ago, we didn't buy any energy from them. Now our energy supplies from the US have gone up 13 times. We buy $20 billion of energy even from the US. And that could go up. There are new finds taking place. We are in talks with other people. Our supplies from Russia, which towards the end of the last financial year, I'm talking about 31st March 22, last financial year, we were importing 0.2% from Russia. Today, Russia is one of the largest suppliers. I mean, if you buy, consume 5 million barrels a day, you normally have 1 million coming from one place, 1 million the other. Sometimes it comes 800,000, somebody goes up from 1 million. So we are effectively utilizing our growing demand, and on that there is no confusion. A lot of agencies in the world have, research agencies have estimated that between 2020 and 2040, 25% of the growth in demand in the globally will come from India. So that 5 million barrels that we consume will slowly but surely go up to 6, 6.5, etc. Will we be able to source it? I have no doubt. But we are simultaneously increasing our exploration and production. We have a sedimentary basin of 3.5 million square kilometers. We never went beyond 6% of exploitation. Today, I can tell you with great joy that we've just released 1 million of that 3.5 million square kilometers, which used to be no-go area, and we've allowed it open for exploration and production. All the major oil companies in the world, without exception, Exxon, Shell, BP, Total, they're all partnering with Indian companies in order to do some prospecting E&P there. Simultaneously, we've increased the biofuel mixing, which used to be 1.4% when Mr. Modi assumed office. Today, we took it to 10% 5 months ahead of schedule. We had a target of 20% blending by 2030. We brought it forward by 5 years. And today, the Prime Minister unveiled E20 blended fuel, again, 2 months in advance. It was supposed to be in April. So I think the India story, whether it is E&P or international arrangements, we're stepping on the gas literally on all fronts.
Okay, Minister Puri, you seem to have anticipated most of my questions or talking points. Let me ask you a quick few follow-ups. You spoke of supply from Russia. Do you expect it to persist at the same levels that we saw? In December, we saw a peak. I think Russia was almost at 1 million barrels per day of our total requirement of 5. So they're right now at about fifth of our demand.
I don't think that's a serious concern I have.
Because
I'll tell you what.
Just curious to know where you expect
it's very difficult. It's very difficult. It's a question of price. Earlier, traditionally, I think our established suppliers in the top 2 or 3 were the Saudis, the Emiratis, the Iraqis, maybe even the Kuwaitis, if I remember correctly. After March of 2022, Russia supplies increased. In between, they went up, then they went down, then Iraq became the largest supplier. So we have a situation where Russia was number 2, 3, etc. Today, I think the figures that you are quoting are the December figures. Yes. I think Russia was number 1. Whether it will remain or not, I don't know, because I'll tell you 2 things happen. Right. The cost of, we will import from wherever we can, our companies will source it. By the way, 47% of our imports are not done by the OMCs, done by the private sector, right. Which means you have the private sector, you have Reliance and Nayara, and you also have our OMCs. All of them, make no mistake, all of them will buy from wherever they can source the most economical. And also, if there's turbulence in terms of, problems with shipping, and they will say, all right, deliver at my port, okay? Since India is a large market, it's a 3rd largest consumer, you can afford to set those terms because, those who have the energy sources also have to sell them. And India is in a short place where you can sell them. It's not for me as the Indian Minister for Energy, Oil and Natural Gas to turn around and say, we're the best place you can. It's not for me to say. There are other countries which will pick up, but I suspect some of their supplies and demand are satiated. They are already in long-term arrangements. So how much new demand will come up? India is sui generis, if I may say so, because the Indian growth is 3 times the global growth. So I think in India, that's why new possibilities are emerging. And that's why you see this kind of interest also in the India Energy Week.
Can you give me, and I know that there are private companies that are doing the purchasing, but of course you know about where they're buying because this is as much geopolitical.
They will buy from anyone. They'll buy from Guyana.
Okay. So
they will buy from, even within the Gulf, even with the Gulf.
All right.
The amount of shift that's taken place, let's say in the last few months between one and the other, is very price sensitive. Very price sensitive.
Sure.
If somebody is charging us, say, a transportation premium or something like that, they'll shift to the other supplier.
As we stand today, are we still persisting to source as much from Russia? And can you give us a sense of what the proportion of the purchasing from the US is as well? You said $20 billion, if I remember correctly.
My last figure, which was I looked at some time ago, our imports from Russia have gone up 13 times. Right. And I think our last figure was $20 billion. I don't know what the latest figure is. But
so that would work out in terms of
it's
percentage
a
of
fairly large amount. From $0 to $20 billion is a large amount.
Okay, so they are now amongst the top 5 suppliers
No,
to
not
us?
the top 5. They're not in the top 5, and the energy mix is different. But if you are looking at potential, it could go up dramatically from there.
So you expect the US to become an even
could,
bigger?
It could.
Of course, I understand this is all dependent on pricing, availability, etc., etc. But you expect that the US could become a more significant supplier?
Let me introduce a small caveat into this. When you're looking at price, you're looking at delivered price. When you're looking at delivered price, you're looking at cost of transportation, cost of insurance, cost of freight, the exchange rate, you're looking at refiner's margin. Refiner's margin, dealer's margin will remain the same no matter where you're getting from. But if you have to take, for instance, a supply from a distant source where you have to use an icebreaker, I'm just setting a icebreaker, then the cost is added on to the import. It becomes more expensive.
Yes.
Therefore, the other party also has to look at the necessity to enter into long-term agreements. You see, sometimes it's
Are we succeeding to move a lot more of our purchasing, private sector and public sector to long term?
They will do
Can
that.
you give us some idea of what the proportion shift is?
I don't, because they don't come to me either to ask me, where are you importing from?
But surely they keep you informed, sir.
Actually, they don't.
Okay.
Actually, they don't. I read the monthly figures when I see them quoted by, the Indian press. Say when the January figures come out, I'll know who's the largest supplier. Somebody has dropped, somebody's come up. And then when I inquire, I'm told that many of them have long-term agreements, some have renewed the contract, some are going into long-term contracts, going from spot. Look, energy is not about altruism or philanthropy.
No, of course.
So anyone who tells you that they're doing it for the love of, goodwill or this, no. They have an asset. My position, you have an asset. It's a sovereign asset. It's your sovereign right. You decide how much to sell. We'll, of course, decide how much to buy depending on the price.
Sure. Mr. Puri, you met with the Secretary General of OPEC today. I believe while you're here at the India Energy Week, you'll be meeting with ministers from the Saudi, UAE. Are India's traditional suppliers, the OPEC Plus group, somewhat disappointed in now having lost, some of that India demand to some extent?
Not at all. First of all, I think there's a presumption in there. OPEC Plus includes Russia. So they're all members of Russia.
OPEC.
Okay, no,
I should correct myself.
Let's say a very simple approach. OPEC always tells us that they don't determine the price, they only determine the quantity that they release.
And that determines price.
Well, that's what I think, but I don't need to tell them that.
So they haven't expressed any disappointment,
Not at all. Some of the OPEC members are very happy because we're buying even more from them.
Could you share with us any more?
I don't think that would be correct.
Of your meeting with the OPEC Secretary General?
No, I have had a very good meeting with the OPEC Secretary General. He and I were on a panel together. Number one, we are planning to have a structured OPEC-India dialogue very soon after Parliament session. I've also met today with a large number of ministers, very large. I mean, I wouldn't even be able to count them, from countries in our neighborhood, from countries of the ASEAN region, etc. And all of these are, in a sense, one part of the discussions, because they're also talking to our companies, IOCL, ONGC, OVL.
This OPEC-India dialogue, could you give us more detail on
we have a structured dialogue with OPEC. We have a structured dialogue
it's an ongoing
OPEC.
conversation.
It's an ongoing conversation, and
that.
we have a new Secretary General of OPEC, and when I last met him, I said I'd like to invite him. I mean, it would have been, for instance, economically judicious for us to have the dialogue here, but that presumes that he and I have so much spare bandwidth that we can have because the dialogue is not going to be just 20 minutes, half an hour. So I think we decided, and rightly so, that I'll invite him to Delhi for him to be able to have he and his colleague, Delhi or wherever, to have the structured dialogue. No, all the dialogues, all the discussions have been very positive, constructive, and I think everybody is looking at issues relating to traditional hydrocarbons and the transition.
Sure. So are you confident, given that, we might see some pressure on prices because of the recovery in China, the economic recovery is what I'm talking about. Are you confident that, given this more recent enhanced diversification of suppliers that India has witnessed, that we will still be able to buy crude at reasonable prices if prices go up closer to $100 a barrel?
Absolutely.
Because Russia will remain a big supplier in the market, hoping to be able to sell below market, right?
No, they're not below market. No, nobody will sell below market. Just don't get that wrong. It's very, very clear.
But it has been selling below market.
No. You must understand the complexity then. It's not like that. You see, it's like this. You have a cost of production, okay? If along with that cost of production, you put, say, something which is a regional premium or something, all right, you put it there, and the thing becomes expensive, we look to buy it elsewhere. All of it is within a range. All of it is within a range. That's why sometimes Iraq becomes the largest seller, sometimes somebody else becomes the largest seller. It's quite simple. It's not just recovery in place X or recovery in India or recovery in America. I think there's also a realization somewhere, which people may not admit to, that if you allow prices to go beyond a level, then you are not containing those inflationary pressures. You are in fact exacerbating them. Therefore, a lot of people are now trying to sober up on interest rates, trying to bring production back, and trying to make sure that oil prices remain within a band. Because otherwise, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
So you're hoping that the OPEC will take a constructive view of increasing China demand and therefore, maybe restore some of those production cuts?
No, I am not hoping. I am
You're
telling
confident.
you, I am 100% confident that people who are in this business know what is good for the global economy.
I'm going to take that as a cue, given that you met with the Secretary General today.
OPEC Secretary General speaks on his own. I will meet the Sultan Jaber tomorrow. I will meet the other Aramco chief. I meet all that. But
and you're confident that in the face of increasing China demand, that OPEC will come to the market and help keep prices somewhat below, because they haven't done that in the past year and a half.
You and I could have a separate discussion on that.
Okay, fine. I do have a couple of more questions on this issue. What do you make of the impact of the price caps on Russian crude oil products like diesel and naphtha? The assessment right now seems to be that refiners in India will stand to benefit because there will be temporary distortions in supply chain.
I'm not going to go into those things for the simple reason.
Not the political aspect.
Yeah, even the economics. The market is a beautifully functioning.
Do you see Indian refiners standing, to gain from this?
I don't know what Indian refiners will do. All I can tell you is that Indian refiners will look to do what is best for them. You have a situation where Indian refiners, when we were faced with a crisis situation, what all did we do? We put a windfall tax, we put an export cess, etc. We will do what is good for our country. What the refiners will do, they will take their own economic interests into account.
Okay. An adjacent question to this, there were news reports that some purchases of Russian crude oil were settled in dirham. Because they were bought from a Dubai trader.
I have no clue.
I know last year we were talking about a Russia-ruble agreement, if possible. So I just wanted to get your sense
I'll tell you, Manika, I have
non-dollar currency settlements for crude, because that's a very interesting new space. So
I'll tell you, you can look for a news story, and I really don't know what's happening. Because you know what happens? Oil doesn't have its provenance written on its forehead. If you find oil, let's say, hypothetically, off the Sao Paulo basin, okay? It's bought by a trader. Is it sold in Latin America? Is it sold in some other place? How do the payments take place? There are established payment channels, and then what will people do if they find that they're facing a difficulty somewhere? I don't know what they will go and do. But as I said, if you are asking me officially, am I in the know of these payment channels? No, I'm not. I'm not. Do I need to have discussions with different countries involved in putting in place payment channel? Yes, if the need arises, we will need to talk.
As yet, you've not felt
No, I have not. In any case, I don't have to do it. It's the central bank or the finance. But of course, they will talk to people. After all, it's not just about energy. There is all kinds of other trade taking place with all manner of countries in the world. And I don't know, I
just wanted to get your assessment of the scope of being able to expand oil trade into non-dollar currencies. But I get your point that you're making.
I have no idea, but the currency in which you trade is hardly the issue. Here the issue is something different.
No, it is important actually to diversify into non-dollar currencies.
What people will do, whether they will sell in rupees or ruble or dirham or USM and Saudi.
I won't persist with that question. You were presented with an energy transition report just hours ago here. Can you share any highlights with us on what roadmap that lays out?
I think what I can tell you is that the gentleman who produced the report, Mr. Kapoor, he used to be secretary in my ministry, and he and I have worked together. He was when he was vice chairman DDA. I also have the housing and urban affairs. So when he retired some time ago, I requested him, because of his immense knowledge, and he was Secretary Petroleum then, because of his immense knowledge, to try and look at issues relating to energy transition. So he and other colleagues who've been there, including I think a former ONGC chairman, some others, they sat together and produced a report. I've only had a preliminary sneak preview, because the report has just been presented to me today. It's a very interesting report. And it addresses the issues of energy transition from the point of view of an energy professional, in terms of deliverables and recommendations which are made to a government. It's not an academic piece, okay? So what I told Mr. Kapoor today when he presented the report, I would like to set aside 2 or 3 hours to have a serious, in-depth discussion on the report, not just the authors and us, but the other stakeholders in the system.
We'll come back to you with that question a few months down the line. You mentioned exploration, the new opportunities. Yeah, so I'll make this my last question. You also mentioned a variety of very large international players interested in signing up with Indian companies. Our last few auctions didn't do very well when it came to exploration blocks. We did get some response, but I guess maybe
many of the things that make me confident are either just before or after the last few auctions. Right. And the auction is not the issue here. Here you have these big players coming on very big projects, as I named many.
You said Chevron,
Exxon, all of them. But I'd be very happy to have a separate discussion with you.
Has that moved into any kind of concrete decision
making?
Very
well. One of them, I don't know which one, is Exxon is devoting 20% of its super computing time to this collaboration. Just gives you an idea of the 20%
to exploration.
To exploration in India.
Okay, yeah. But in terms of investments, do you have any visibility on what they're
no.
hoping to be able to bring?
First of all, we changed our whole approach. It's not depending on what you invest, etc. Come and find it. We'll even incentivize your
open access.
The open accessing. Then we'll have production sharing agreement. So we'll have a longer discussion on that later.
On the open acre licensing.
Yes,
but has any of this moved into concrete
sort
of business arrangements already?
Business arrangements are at different stages of conclusion, and when they decide to make them public, I'm sure they will do so soon.
What kind of cumulative amounts do you expect in terms of investment?
It's not for me as the minister to speculate on what two business parties will, and I must thank you for the discussion.
All right, Mr. Puri.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.